First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKadosh, and special salutations and double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, who teach well, who rule well, and likewise I came on down that share the likewise doctrine of truth, and to the speck-bird Hebrew Israelite foreigners that look like the heathen, that live amongst the heathen, and to the sincere Aquathium, who listen in silence and meekness as the scriptures command to do so. Let me adjust this mic a little bit airy, a little bit too much breath on the mic. All right, brothers. So I saw this earlier, and the reason it struck a chord is twofold. Number one, we know that this is all prophecy. Everything that has to do with these wars between Russia and between the West. This is all the Prince of Tubal and Meshach, Gog and Magog, China and Russia and that whole coalition. All of this is written in the book of Daniel, the book of Ezekiel, and Isaiah, or Yeshayahu, Ezekiel. But the reason I wanted to point this out is because this is, it stuck out to me because I used to actually work for, this is years ago. Before I even came into the truth, I used to work for a defense contractor in New Jersey, Crane Aerospace, and we did a lot of stuff for the Defense Contractors Management Agency, which was basically like the U.S. Air Force or what have you. And we were building this thing for a company called Lockheed Martin. And I didn't really understand what it was until, after the contract was completed, because they did a lot of like compartmentalization and stuff like that. And it was a crazy ass job. I don't even know how I got the job. I got the job. I had to go through all this, Department of Homeland Security, background check and all that. And I was like, man, I didn't even think I was going to get the job. Boom. How the heck did I get this? Anyway, I wound up getting the job. And what we were working on was something called, they called it Project Space Fence. So the Space Fence was basically something that Lockheed Martin had manufactured. And what it really was, it was like a thing whereas when it was explained to me, what I understood it to be, they said that it was to track space junk that was in space that could possibly damage satellites. That was the cover for it. But I thought that was a bullshit reason, because anything that the U.S. government makes or the military makes, or companies like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman and stuff like that, it's always for a military issue. It's not for some, to look at some space junk. So I already put two and two together way back then. And I said, this got to be some type of missile defense type thing, to be able to, because the way we were working, the tiniest, it was like, okay, this thing this tracking system, it can pick up something the size of a baseball, if it's launched in the air, And so, with that being said, I said, this has got to be for some missile defense, some early warning system, so that they can, attach this thing to their satellites and attach this thing to, those high-flying bombers that are, taking pictures 24/7, flying around the globe and stuff like that. Because that's what the U.S. Military does. They got the Air Force flying through the air 24/7, going around the whole, Earth, taking pictures and checking on this one and that, having all these defense capabilities and early warning systems and stuff like that. So, but I think that the Russians got something that it I mean, they can have the early warning all they can, but the only thing that they'll be able to do is to see that these things are being launched. I don't think that they're going to really have the capability to really track it down and, dispose of it, in a defense way, like a interception or something like that. But yeah, let me play this. They're talking about the hypersonic missiles, unstoppable hypersonic missiles, and then check out the way they do the map, because that stuck out to me too. It's kind of crazy, but check it out. I ain't gonna say nothing else. Just
Putin has promised to scale up production of a new hypersonic missile that hit Ukraine last week. He says Western defense systems aren't able to stop the missile, and no other country has anything like it. It all comes amid warnings of a wider conflict after Ukraine used British and American missiles to hit targets inside Russia. Let's get reaction from military analyst Sean Bell. Good to see you, Sean. President Putin then saying he's got a lot more of these missiles, and he is prepared to use them, but they're still not fully formed. They're being tested, aren't they? They're not the real deal at the moment?
Yeah, there's an interesting conversation backwards and forwards, isn't there? The Orishnik missile, it was an experimental missile. The Americans said he's only got a handful of them. Putin's therefore said, no, I've got loads of them. It is a pre-production model that they've got. The question is how many they built. You don't run a production run until you've ironed out the wrinkles. It does appear they may have between 6 and 10 of these missiles. So we might see another one launched again. Going from a test to a production, though, is a whole set of new challenges. You need a whole load of bulk technology. The sanctions are really having an impact there, unless China, of course, helps out with it. The main two issues, though, actually, from a warfighting perspective, are one of which, tactically, how does President Zelensky deal with this new threat? And the second one is the threatening rhetoric from Russia. There's been lots of focus on this 3,100-mile range, basically saying, look...
Now check this out, right? This is what I was talking about, the outline of this, this map, chart here. Now, if you figure if the range is 3,100 miles, they got to be, able to reach 3,100 miles. But the way they're setting up this map is kind of, how can I say, it sends a sense of false security because, for one, when you launch nuclear missiles, or if you launch, you're going to try to launch in the most opportune spot where you can reach your target the quickest. Now, as you can see on the map, Russia being outlined in red can hit militarily any target in most of these NATO countries, whether it be Poland, Ukraine, anywhere, Italy, France, anywhere in Europe, Sweden, boom, right there, before you know it. All right? So they pretty much have no win if they haven't developed some sort of countermeasure that can counter any of this stuff that Russia has manufactured, right? And that being said, the defense budget that most of these countries spend on a yearly basis pales in comparison to the United States. So if any country at all has the capability of stopping this, it's the U.S. But I said that to say this. The U.S.-backed Israelis in the Middle East having that Iron Dome system, which is a manufactured system that is quite the same as the United States, or is probably manufactured in the U.S. and then has been, transferred to the Israelis, right? So that being said, we already know from, about 2 months ago, or maybe not even, it might have been about a month ago, when Iran answered back to the plethora of missiles that Israel had sent over into Iran that got shot down. And Iran countered back, and most of the Iron Dome couldn't intercept those missiles that came from Iran, and they had about an 85% success rate, on the targets that they were, aiming to take out, right? So, that being said, these hypersonic missiles are even more robust than than those missiles that Iran shot. So how do we, how does the U.S. Really measure up? Not only that, if you look at the outline of Russia, right? Because we all know that Russia can be reached through, the Siberian Pass or what have you. It's connected, like through Alaska. Like during the winter months when it gets colder in Alaska, it freezes over. Everybody's watched or seen ice road truckers. The trucks can basically pass over the ice, and you can be in Russia. So, which also brings back to mind a precept about the kings of the north coming in to spoil Babylon. After the smoke clears and after the dust settles, so to speak. But yeah, this was kind of interesting that they made the outline like that. When if you go to the edge of Russia, the easternmost part of Russia, you're right at the back door of the United States. So it'll be quick, it'll be fast, and with 3,100 miles, you're definitely going to get into the Dakotas. You're definitely going to get into Montana, where most of our missile silos are, And then if these things are tipped with MIRV warheads or multiple reentry vehicle warheads, they can target several different individual key targets, whether they be, in military terms, they say, primary targets, secondary targets, or tertiary targets, which are, the first targets are going to be your military targets. Second targets are going to be probably like your manufacturing, your mass manufacturing, car makers, or warehouses and stuff like that. And then your tertiary targets will be like, most likely will be like civilian, high population density centers, like your major cities and stuff like that. But yeah, check this out.
Yes, you're in most of Europe is within range of this, and I have to remind the viewers here, just for literally decades, both America and Russia have had thousands of missiles capable of carrying ordnance halfway around the world. There is absolutely nothing new about this. The reason it's happening now is Putin is trying to up the ante, threaten the West, because he's trying to prepare himself for a negotiating position early next year. And the more the West is scared, the more the West just wants the war dealt with. It might well be he gets all sorts of palliatives that are involved, and such as sanctions being lifted, etc. So he's definitely playing to Putin, and danger is it rewards his aggression if the West decides to agree to that.
The footage that was the footage of the results of that hypersonic missile.
Yeah.
How does it move the war forward? Do you think? What's the next stage?
One of the challenges, the new weapons are constantly being developed all the time. Ukraine's been doing with their drones have been very effective. This new ballistic missile, Mark 11, so 11 times the speed of sound. Putin says it can't be shot down. He said actually the same for a Kinzhal missile only recently, and that has. But one of the reasons is it does present a challenge to Ukraine. So President Zelensky has been appealing to the West for the next version of upgraded air defense system. He might want an upgraded Patriot system. He might want the THAAD system. If you remember that the Americans deployed that to Israel recently. What that does highlight, though, is a concern from the West. Russia likes to showcase its equipment when it's brand new. The West likes to keep secrets because it knows that if you showcase stuff, people harvest all the information out of it. And a really good example of that black program is the F-117 Nighthawk, which was the first of the stealthy aircraft. The Americans had a black program, first used out in the Gulf War, but it's been in service for 10 years before that. Here's a picture of it. The Americans have kept it secret so that when it's needed for real, it's a surprise. The West, therefore, does not want to deploy state-of-the-art air defense systems into Ukraine, knowing that China and everybody will learn how they work and work around. So the real conundrum here is that deploying this stuff would provide a short-term palliative for President Zelensky, but could compromise the West's long-term security.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? And another development is happening in the Kursk region of Russia. Talk us through that.
Yes, if you remember back in August, Ukraine mounted an audacious attack into the Kursk region, just up to the top of the map there, an incursion. It's the first time Russia has been invaded since the World War II. It seems to be the strategy that Ukraine wants to ease the pressure on its front line by forcing Russian forces to go from the Donetsk region, Luhansk, up to try and push them out. The problem was the Russians largely ignored it. They put a ring around it and said, we'll deal with that later, increase the pressure in the Donbass, and they've been on the front foot ever since. Now, the Russians have actually put about 59,000 troops have moved up to the region up there, plus the reports of 11,000 North Korean troops. And we now understand that the Ukrainians have been pushed out. You'll see the orange area, the bigger area. That's what the Ukrainians originally were. Now that yellowish area is where they are now. They've lost about 40% of the territory. Ukraine always said they were only going to hold it as long as it was militarily appropriate. So the question now is, are they being squeezed out by the Russians, and in which case they're not holding out well, or have they decided that they've achieved their military objectives because the Russians have had to pivot around, and therefore the challenge is how do they withdraw gracefully so that they preserve as much of their manpower as they can and reinforce the area to the south. The challenge is we just don't know, but it's undoubtedly that the Ukrainian foothold in Russia does appear to be gradually easing.
No doubt if Russia decides to, end this thing, that they will tip those ballistic warheads with nuclear-capable MIRV reentry vehicles. But this is all prophecy. All of this is getting to the point where World War III will jump off. There'll be either some sort of attack, either domestically here, or they'll false flag it so that they can bring in the MOTB, because we already know that the U.S. is going to have, if Trump does what he wants to do, he wants to have a field day with all these illegal immigrants, and that's going to be probably one of the first things that he tries to tackle. And when they start doing that, then that's when they'll bring in Elon Musk as the technocracy czar, or the technology czar, rather, and say, okay, well, we've been working on this system for a while, and now we have this system where we can implant a chip, and then we can have everybody marked that's supposed to be here, and everybody that's not supposed to be here, we can either deport, or we can mark them as well, and then deport them, or what have you, because eventually it's going to be the sort of thing that they try to go globally with. But it seems like it only seems to be the wise men and the prophets of GMS that's really doing any talking about the MOTB and really warning everybody, warning both Jacob, warning these Jakes, as well as the two-thirds, as well as the Israelites. So I mean, these are the days that the scripture foretold, and that prophecy past is coming to life. Like I said, in the book of Daniel, the book of Ezekiel, the book of Isaiah, all up and down and through it, all these things are coming to light. This is Meshach, Tubal, Gog and Magog, and all this is getting ready to really change I really believe it's going to change the landscape of life here in America. It's not going to go back to the way it was prior to 2019. This thing is being fast-tracked, it seems, and we're moving fast forward. But this just a little video I want to make, quick video, and keep holding on, brothers. Keep standing swiftly for the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, and giving all honor and praise and glory, Kal Halal, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Ruach HaKadosh. Peace to all the brothers, peace to all the Akim. Shalom.